Hello, and a very warm welcome to this podcast from Management Futures. I'm Hugh Reynolds, Head of Digital Learning, and in this series I'm holding some informal, short-form conversations with my colleagues, associates and friends. They're all expert practitioners in fields related to, but not restricted to, coaching, culture and inclusive leadership development. All things that enable individuals, teams and organisations to thrive. In this episode, we're going to get to know one of our outstanding people. But before we do, let me just mention that if you visit us at www.managementfutures.co.uk, you can find lots more insightful content in our resources section, including a richly interactive video based around the discussion I'm about to have. Thanks for listening in. Tim, thanks for spending time with us today. This is a new thing that I'm trying to do with people to find out more about their work. And I know a load of stuff about your coaching work. And I also support you on the work that you do going all around the world, telling people stuff about how to do business better, how to work together, how to generate relationships and sort of come together in a more effective way. And I was intrigued by something you did last week. And that was a session on meetings and how to get meetings right, how to make meetings effective. Am I on the right lines? Is that the sort of content of your session and the content of our conversation today?
Yeah, I think so, Hugh. I think so. I was chuckling to myself when he mentioned sort of traveling around, telling people how to do things, and of course there may be a bit of that, and there's an awful lot of exploring of the context of where they're at and what they're trying to achieve. And certainly, I have noticed recently that more and more people are interested in the topic of getting meetings right, whether they be group meetings or one-to-ones. And that indeed, the meetings was the topic that we'd sort of been discussing probably a couple of weeks ago.
Couple of weeks ago, was it? Right, time flies. And thanks for picking me up on how directive you are, because I know, from other discussions we've had about coaching that it's non-directive and we go with the client's agenda. And then we're also doing work where we're going and giving suggestions, giving hints, giving background, helping people to reflect together on these themes. So really fascinated by the interplay between your coaching work and this sort of work that you do. So let's dive in, if you don't mind, Tim. One of the things that you asked me for help with was some of the images that you put into your session. I've not seen your session, so I don't know how you were using these images, but one of them was a full-length tattoo, like a lot of body there and a lot of tattoo there. Why on earth did you want an image of a tattoo?
Yeah, so I think it was an amusing description of meetings that I stumbled across recently, where somebody said that meetings were akin to getting large tattoos, insofar as you needed to sit still in one place for an inordinately long period of time, and it was like having needles stuck in you. So I thought that was a useful image just to prompt a bit of a reaction. There was a quote as well, which I don't know who this quote belongs to, but it's oft quoted, where meetings are where great ideas go to die. So it was really just a provocation in terms of what the experience some people have when they're attending some meetings.
And do you find that with your audience that many people are coming with a sort of negative idea, a negative conception of meetings and having to endure those meetings? Do you ever come across people that really enjoy meetings or want more of them?
Yeah, I think, if we get meetings right, meetings can be fantastic and they can be really enjoyable. It's a social occasion where people can come together and get great work done. So I think for sure there are people who would be big fans of meetings, and I think they are generally ones who are experiencing the better form of meeting. But there's research that talks about under 50% of people who attend meetings rate them as effective.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of meetings
It's a scary
that just,
statistic. Yeah.
yeah, that just
Yeah.
aren't effective at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One thing, I mean, that question I asked you was kind of about myself as well, because I do pretty much all my work online. So the only contact that I have with the outside world is often
Mm.
in a day in a meeting, because we have no water cooler. Even if I had an office, I wouldn't have a water cooler to come and meet you around. But you know,
Yeah.
there is that social element to them that mustn't be forgotten in all of the
Yes.
sort of productivity that we want to get out of a meeting. And I'm really fascinated by something that you put in your slide deck around, um, sometimes it just doesn't have to be a meeting. So maybe to make things more effective, do away with the meeting and
Yeah.
replace it with something else.
Yeah, I think that's right. And um, sometimes we just put a meeting in. And I think actually, Hugh, you messaged me earlier on today and just said, can we have a quick chat? And
Mm.
please, can we make it a phone call?
Mhm.
I think especially now we're working virtually a lot. We can reach for the okay, let's just schedule a meeting, and often those meetings are 30-minute meetings or an hour long meetings. They're in blocks of time.
Mm.
Uh, so we can reach too quickly for a meeting.
Yeah.
For
And full
virtual.
disclosure around that, because after I texted you, I went straight to my calendar and put it in our calendars as a catch up. So I couldn't get away from that formality of organizing the chat,
Yeah.
rather than just dropping in and calling. So says something interesting about how indoctrinated in the sort of art of meeting arrangements that we
Yeah,
get
yeah,
sometimes.
it's instinctive now, isn't it? And of course, there's a reason for it. In some ways, it protects the time. It's a
Mm.
reminder for you. It's a reminder
Yep.
for the other person. It stops anything else getting into that time when you might need, you really value a
Mm.
conversation. But yeah, you're right. We're conditioned to go for these blocks of time.
Yeah. And
And yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been to an hour-long meeting that couldn't be a half-hour meeting.
Mm.
I don't know how far you can take that. Is there a half-hour meeting that you could put into a 15-minute meeting and you just keep sort of dividing it in two? But yeah, certainly something about the style or the tradition that we get into, the
Yeah.
habits that we get into. Why does it have to be an hour? Why does it have to be in this way? And I think, from what I've seen of the slides and the resources around it, you're challenging people to rethink meetings and what it means for them to have an effective meeting in their own context. And
Yeah.
I don't, do you want to say something about that? Like meetings
Well,
in
I think
different locations, different people, different industries, different sort of environments, perhaps?
Yeah, and I think in the context of the workshop that those slides were for, that was for a group of people who are um, really interested in improving performance, and that performance can be in many different places. And one of the things that they believe in, and that's why they turned up for it, was that their meetings can be improved, and they want to explore
Mm,
how they might.
mm,
So. I'm not sure if that plays exactly to your point, but there are opportunities. There are always opportunities to look at things, bring a new lens onto it. Maybe throw a bit of provocation in there, some questions, some ideas, some concepts that other people have used effectively in improving meetings, and give it a whirl.
Is it important to have meetings about meetings sometimes? Not all
So
the time, but sometimes to establish that new normal or to disrupt the normal.
yeah, so it's a really good question, isn't it? So we have a meeting to review our meetings, and a little part of me dies at the sound of that. And at the same time, if we think that actually we invest some time seriously reviewing the meetings that we have currently, because there may be meetings that we're having that we don't need anymore.
Mm,
They were fit for purpose at one point or another, but they've just run out of any particular impetus. They're not doing the job that they were there for. This concept of zombie meetings,
mm.
and whether there's an opportunity to take some of those out. So
So
actually,
zombie meeting, just explain that for people not familiar with zombie movies. How
yeah.
would you define a zombie meeting then?
So I think a zombie meeting that is there, but it's not really alive anymore. It's not really serving a purpose. So if you were to actually ask the people in the meeting, what do you take away from this meeting? They'd be hard pushed to give something really, really concrete. And yet we're in the habit of it. So often a meeting, certainly standing meetings, may have been put in at a time when they were absolutely appropriate, often by a person who's no longer in that team or potentially no longer in that organization anymore. It was right then and it continues. Is it right now? And I think if we can ask those questions earlier, it's worth doing.
Yeah. And it's sort of speaking to me about the dynamism of cultures and organizational cultures that, I was at my daughter's school this morning and they had a cultural statement on the wall about what this school is like.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, great, because it was a really good statement.
Mm.
However, as we know, we need to adapt and develop and evolve as people and as businesses and as organizations serving people. So, something that speaks to how the needs change and how your business systems and your processes and your coming together points change, just says something to me about the idea of cultures shifting and merging and developing in a wholesome way, not just being static.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the ideas that we come back to in all sorts of ways is that learning, so for the culture to be learning, for the organization to be learning, to have curiosity to check out what is working, what is not working anymore, and then having the appetite to change. So
Yeah,
it's learning and then actually doing something about it.
yeah,
And I share these insights with around meetings, and I'm quite aware that not every meeting at Management Futures is sort of 100% yeehaw, and everyone comes out thinking, yes, that was absolutely perfect. I doubt there is a perfect, and I doubt there's a need for perfect.
mm,
And we can
yeah.
and should look to improve them.
There's an ambition to converge on something that is going to be better, which I
Yeah,
think is
exactly.
wholly positive.
Yeah,
And you mentioned learning there, Tim, and I think we better do something, even though we're having a short conversation
yeah.
today. And if people really want to find out about effective meetings, they should book in and book you to come and talk to them about that. But I wonder if you could give us maybe three top tips or hacks, meeting hacks for how to run
Mm.
effective meetings. And I wonder if we could go in the logical chronological order of before, during, and after. Okay, so I know you've got lots of ideas about what to do to prepare and what to do during and what to do beyond the meeting when you're together. But
Mm.
maybe just give us one tip from each of those spaces if you could.
Okay, so I would say definitely this is a half tip because I've already revealed this, but I
Okay.
think beforehand to actually look at whether you need a meeting or
Mhm.
not. There's actually some good resources, a little Google around a decision maker for a meeting, and there's some multiple choice questions that you can go through that throw you back a humorous memes
Mhm.
around, do you need a meeting, maybe schedule a call, etc. So I think that's something to look at. Um, I think when putting together the agenda, and this is something that I see in many different organizations where they don't do it, is to have an agenda item with what specifically do you want to take away with that agenda item?
Mhm.
So if it's a sales update, well, that's fine. Except the sales update should probably come out before the meeting so people can have a look at it beforehand. But then what is it you need to actually take away and discuss?
Mhm.
Is it, let's decide what we're going to keep doing and what we need to do more of. Something specific
Mhm.
beforehand.
And during, so once we're in the meeting all together, whether that's online or in the room, what are you doing as an effective meeting manager to make that run properly?
There's so much that you need to do. I think ideally division of roles would be useful. So having a chair or facilitator for it, um, having that person not be the one to have to introduce all of the agenda items, so have champions for the agenda items, those who really know that content, and also whether you have a sort of minute taker or a note taker, having that person identified as well and bought into it, and that person has full permission to come in to clarify things as they're going along,
Mm.
particularly around actions. Okay, so can I just stop the meeting?
Hmm.
What is it that we're going to do? When is it? And by when? So I think that within the meeting, we set it up beforehand, but within the meeting, there are clear roles and responsibilities would be the best case.
Great. And I'll just throw in a half tip of my own, or a
Yeah,
half act, just in a meeting that we were in yesterday, actually, where we were together and I was the one taking minutes, but we were actually taking the minutes on screen, so in a collaborative workspace, where I was typing and then you were telling me, hang on, could you add that bit in, so we could all see the same thing, and it felt like a collaborative
yeah,
capturing, and it didn't feel like somebody was there in the corner, me scribbling away and then sending it back to you a month later. That's a live, so we use a system called Padlet, and
yeah.
that's a live notice board that we can go in, have a look at the next meeting. We can input to it between those meetings as well, so it feels a bit more live than just minutes or noting. It's there for
Yeah,
everybody to see all open.
absolutely. And in that specific meeting, I think what's great is that all those on the meeting were involved in it, and so that's certainly something that either in the setup of the meeting or in the facilitation or chairing of the meeting that we encourage equal opportunity to
Hmm.
contribute. That might
Yeah,
not mean absolutely equal opportunity, equal um,
airspace
voice
or
time
or
or
yeah,
airspace.
yeah,
That's the word I'm looking for, the two
yeah.
words I was looking for. But that there is opportunity for that, and I think bringing in collaborative tools
Hmm.
can be super useful and feel like we're making progress as well,
Yeah.
which is important.
So you're not allowed to use that one for after because that is a legacy thing that people can see. But have you got any other tips about after the meeting has closed? What's some best practice there?
Yeah, so I think one of the things best practice is for that minute taker or the person who's sort of taking down those actions would be to review them. So even if they're using an AI tool to generate meeting notes, which is
Hmm.
possible now, of course, with virtual meetings, that then they're reviewing either their notes or they're reviewing the AI notes really soon after the meeting,
Mm.
ideally within 24 hours, and then they're
Yeah.
sending that out because, as we know, our memories fade and we look at our notes again and we can't quite make sense of them or miss the main points.
Hmm.
And equally, other people have moved on from that meeting now. So the sooner we can get them out afterwards, the more likely it is that we're going to actually fulfill some of the actions
Hmm.
that we've committed to.
So strike while the iron's hot,
Yeah,
and also sort of keep the momentum up that was generated, as we hope it was generated in that meeting,
yeah.
to keep things moving forward,
Yeah,
and do
it
that
helps
quite soon.
exactly, and that that those things help to reinforce the feeling, and hopefully it's not just a feeling. We get results from it. That was a worthwhile exercise.
Mm.
Look what's come out of it. Okay, now we go. So it feels much more tangible. If we don't get those actions out quite quickly, it can just feel like, okay, I've just lost an hour of my time here. We've got
Yeah.
nothing from it.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for those top tips. And just to end our conversation today, I'm going
Mm.
to give you a choice around the other bits of imagery and pictures that we used in that presentation and in that workshop. So I'd like you to choose. I think I've got four options for you here, Tim. You had a picture of an orange. You had a picture of a loud hailer.
Okay.
You had a picture of a lady with a finger. I think that was around something called opor, OPUR. And
Yeah.
you also had people on a stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah.
So, of those images, what would you like to tell our audience about today? Which image?
Okay. I'm gonna go straight off with the orange
Okay.
and the orange peel, which I really like. So this is a top tip to try, and I think and one that I hadn't heard of but learned of recently. So we're always learning as well. So credit to a lady named Nina Sunday, who's based in Australia. And from her, I got the idea of peeling away. So that's the reference to the orange is peeling away. And this concept that if we want to make best use of everybody's time, and the time commitment that goes into meetings is obviously huge. And one of the frustrations that people have is if they're in a meeting and actually the agenda item for which they're most qualified to talk about, most interested in, and is most relevant for them, is it for perhaps at the beginning of the meeting, and then they have to sit there, or they feel they have to sit there for the entirety of the meeting. So if the idea behind peel away is, well, let's get together. And if that is the case, and there's an agenda item that needs these two people at the beginning and everybody else, but then the next agenda item doesn't, then those people can peel away. So they can literally peel away from the meeting. I think there's something to be said, and this didn't come with the idea, but I think there's peel in as well. So I think
where you peel towards, so you put the peel back in.
Exactly, I think so.
Yeah.
So if we stick, and this does take some discipline with sticking to times put in the agenda, and we should with confidence be able to peel people in, so that people might just turn up for the last item on the agenda, which is most relevant to them, which of course pulls back a lot of time and feels like people are really purposeful.
And I'm hearing this, or I want to hear this, as permission to peel, not a mandate to peel only and just come to talk about your thing, the thing that you're interested in. But feel free if you've got something more urgent or something more pressing or something that you feel you need to be at, peel. And at other times, don't peel and stick around.
Absolutely, and that's exactly really. So it is about permission, it's about opportunity, but opportunity to flex and have some control of some more control of your own time. So ideally, an agenda goes out with that illustrated. These 5 names are against this topic because they're crucial for that bit. Now, if they don't, they could very welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, and they don't have to.
Fascinating. Thanks so much, Tim, for those new insights and a little bit of a taste of all the luxuriant things that are within your session. I'll put some information around the edges of this video around if people want to get in touch to discuss that or find out more from us. We'd be delighted to hear from people. And I think it's about time to peel away ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, let's peel away. Thank you.
Like a banana or an orange? What sort of?
Well, whichever fruit you
want.
Like.
Right.
We'll keep it to a fruit.
Great. Fantastic. Guava, something like that. Yeah. Nice.
Indeed.
Thank you, mate. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for lending us your ears. We really hope you enjoyed the conversation. And if you'd like to explore more around this topic or any other shared interest, do visit us at www.managementfutures.co.uk. There, you can find lots more insightful content in our resources section, including a cool interactive video based on the discussion you've just heard. Until next time, take care.